Microsoft has announced that Windows Mobile 6.5 is going to be renamed to Windows Phone Starter Edition, somewhat perverse, seeing as that it can do a lot more and is more for power users than the newer and still vaporware Windows Phone 7 series. Crazy. Microsoft are just hopeless at names. Nokia has launched the C5, part of a new series of cheap consumer smartphones. Amazingly, it should sell for under £100 on pay-as-you-go. Its most interesting feature is that in its contacts you can see your friends' status updates plugged directly from Facebook. You can also update your Facebook status easily, of course, and share your location with Ovi Maps 3 with the usual free and voice navigation. YouTube Mobile just hit 2.4 for Windows Mobile and Symbian, bringing proper account integration, so playlists, favourites. Now, crank up the quality, please, YouTube. We want the option of higher res streams. The top commercial download on Nokia's Ovi store reportedly is also something that I keep getting asked about, so I thought a little explanation was in order. When the Apple iPhone was first released, I bought this, an iPod Touch, in order to play with the operating system and its apps. Of course, there's no GPS and no cellular connectivity, so as far as I was concerned, the iPod Touch was something of a standalone device. For example, I didn't even bother starting Google Maps until a few days after purchase, since it patently wouldn't know where I was. Wrong. Google Maps asked permission to use my location. This'll be interesting, I thought. Immediately, I was shown my exact location on the Earth's surface, zoomed down to street level. This on a new device. I wandered out of my house and down the road for a few hundred metres, and my position was maintained, more or less exactly. Maybe the iPod had a GPS chip in it after all. I ran some checks and then the penny dropped. Apple were using Skyhook's Wi-Fi location system, one of the very first consumer products to do so. And the aforementioned Ovi Store top seller is Maps Booster from the same company, which brings the same technology to Symbian users. Here's how it works. Starting with a known database of Wi-Fi networks around the world, partly obtained the hard way by driving around scanning for router IDs, software that uses Skyhook technology scans around your position and triangulates from the router IDs it sees. The really clever part is that the system is self-healing and that minor changes in the Wi-Fi networks are automatically detected and incorporated into the main database. Because your mobile device is online, if a known Wi-Fi router ID is missing because someone's upgraded their hardware or moved house, for example, it's also marked appropriately in the main database. And if a new router ID is detected, it's added to the database. In this way, Skyhook's people don't have to keep driving around every country. Maps Booster is a small commercial utility that gets installed into Symbian's built-in positioning system, appearing alongside assisted GPS, for example. Then, when Ovi Maps, Google Maps, Wikitude, or any other app needs a position fix, Wi-Fi router triangulation is automatically used in addition to the usual GPS lock. In fact, the Wi-Fi fix is often faster, provided you've got a reasonable data connection. So why is Maps Booster the first thing I add to any Symbian smartphone I use? I've just put it on this E61i, which is 4 years old, by the way, because it gives a position fix in exactly the places where GPS isn't good, in towns and cities. Likewise, GPS is great in rural areas where Maps Booster won't work. So they complement each other very well. If I'm heading into London, for example, I enable Maps Booster, and then I know I'm not going to have any location problems. Interestingly, Google have their own version of the technology for Google Maps, but in my tests it's only roughly half as accurate, while Nokia has just started gathering data for their own version, though it'll be at least a year, I think, before their system starts to compete with Maps Booster. You can check Skyhook's database coverage for your area by going to this URL. Moving on to the Motorola Milestone, that's the Droid if you're watching from the USA. Straight after the review of the Google Nexus 1 has made for a fascinating comparison. The Nexus 1 is unquestionably the more powerful of the two phones, 1 GHz processor versus 550, potentially twice the RAM once Google's engineers have sorted their bugs out, OLED screen, the latest Google goodies and so on. However, the Milestone is still a solid choice and there's quite a bit to recommend it that the Nexus can't keep up with. Starting off at roughly the same size, the Milestone is far more metal in its construction. It's a lot harder to drop thanks to the metal ridge all round. It has a full slide-out QWERTY keyboard, a proper camera shutter button, yay, dual LED flash for the camera, plus vastly better audio capture when shooting videos, plus a big loud speaker that makes listening to podcasts and videos a pleasure and not a pain. And the screen's slightly higher resolution at 480 by a massive 854 pixels. That's quite a delta over what I had previously considered the best Android phone yet. The Nexus 1 still shines in terms of screen and raw power, But for those who appreciate solid build quality and real-world functionality, I would give the Milestone the edge most of the time. My previous Motorola was the ill-fated UIQ 3-running Z10, which I seem to have mislaid, and which shared the Milestone's metal but ever so slightly tacky feel. Here, the shutter button, the camera lens ring, and the speaker are all somewhat unaccountably finished in gold, or mock gold, I guess. Inside, the ugly but functional D-pad gets the same treatment. Still, the use of metal everywhere gives it a superbly solid feel. In fact, materials all round are first class. I loved the rubberized rear and battery covers for yet more grip. The camera glass is left unprotected, but at least raised ridges along the top and bottom of the phone here keep the camera and speaker from being in direct contact with your desk or dashboard or whatever, keeping the glass unscratched and the sound pumping out. The screen's bog standard TFT, but nice and bright. A good compromise between transflective and OLED, I feel, on a phone with the Milestone's ambitions. Opening the unsprung keyboard slide reveals a one-piece QWERTY layout, i.e. the keys are all essentially one piece of flexible plastic, moulded to fake a keyboard with discrete mechanical keys. Given the thin form factor, there's probably not much else that could have been done here, but it's fair to say it's one of the fiddlier QWERTY keyboards I've tried. I'd lump it in with the Nokia N97 for usability, which isn't necessarily a compliment. Still, it's important to emphasise why it's great to have a physical QWERTY keyboard in the first place. When you're with someone and trying to get down their predictive, unfriendly address quickly under pressure. When you're on a bus being jolted around, trying to reply to an urgent email or text, or when you simply want to see the screen you're typing into rather than just a small text window. In all these cases, a physical keyboard is a must, and while not being up to the standard of the Nokia E90 or even E75, let alone the Touch Pro 2s, the Milestone's keyboard will do. All of which leaves a vanilla Android 2.0 smartphone. A recent update over the air to 2.01 smoothed out any performance niggles, leaving a fast and responsive device. Android 2.1 is apparently coming as well in the next month or two. The 115 megabytes here of free RAM is quite enough for normal apps, though I suspect it will struggle in a year's time when really heavyweight Android games come on stream. 3 home screens is enough for me, and the usual Google applications, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Maps, voice search and so on are included as standard, with many more only a free download away in the Android market. Again, for a Google-centred lifestyle, Android is just a great fit, as you'd expect. Google Maps navigation is still not enabled outside the USA, so Motorola has snuck in a trial version of their MotoNav Mobile, itself a rebranded version of the software used in the commercial sat-navs in Nav & Go. This works really well, spoiled only by the way the car sat-nav interface bears no resemblance whatsoever to anything else in Android, and by, well, the need to dip into your wallet after 60 days to the tune of €100 for a, quote, lifetime license, where a lifetime is defined as 2 years. My hamster lives longer than that. On the multimedia front, music is a pleasure to listen to. Here's the nice loud speaker. Or through the 3.5mm jack through your own headphones. That's your own in-ear headphones. The supplied outer ear ones aren't very good. Maybe manufacturers know you're going to replace them anyway, so they just don't bother. Videos play well with good frame rate, though flash videos aren't supported. Neither are DivX or many desktop class MP4 variants. The YouTube client works very well using high quality streams where appropriate. Top marks here. And for video, again, that big high quality speaker delivers the goods. Looking at the camera, the 5-megapixel stills photos aren't bad as seen here. They're not up to typical Nokia or Sony Ericsson standard, but they suffice for casual snaps from a phone that's after all got no camera glass protection. Videos are more impressive. Here's a sample in good light. So this is a test video clip early in the morning. Winter sunshine on the Motorola Milestone. 720 by 480 pixels by about 24 frames a second. Perhaps some audio video sync issues, but otherwise good quality sound. And pretty good quality picture. No preset focus though. A biggish battery rounds out a surprisingly impressive bit of kit. The Milestone, or the Droid if you're American, will win precisely 0 awards for style and beauty. The little chin alone would see to that, if not the edges and lines on every side. But for a 2010 multitasking smartphone for both getting things done and playing with the latest Android internet-hosted goodies, the Milestone is a decent all-rounder. Despite now living in the shadow of the stylish and powerful Nexus 1 and the imminent stylish, powerful and sexy HTC Desire, maybe this is perhaps the best Android phone yet after all. That's one title I can see changing hands at least a dozen times in 2010. But for now, I give you the Motorola Milestone.
This is my phone of choice, the Nokia 5800 Express Music. Here are 8 reasons why I think this is the phone for me. Number 1, it has a large touchscreen which is very sensitive. Number 2, a good internet browser with good Wi-Fi signal and Bluetooth. Number 3, a sat-nav to get me and my family from A to B when I do not have my TomTom. Number 4, it's in my price range. Number 5, it has loads of apps available from Ovi. Number 6, it has a full screen QWERTY keyboard which is okay to use, and I can do all my text and just makes life a bit easier for me. Number 7, it has very good speakers which I can blow the whole room up with music with my very loud Nokia Express Music speakers. And finally, a camera which is quite good, which takes quite good images in good light. And my dream phone is a Nokia N97 Mini. Thanks, Steve.